This keeps happening. And so to understand why it's happening and what, if anything, we can do about it as a society, we'd like to bring on today our special guest. Our guest today is Mr. Daryl Johnson. Mr. Johnson is one of our nation's foremost experts on domestic extremist groups. He began his career as a civilian in the U.S. Army, and he's held a number of government positions, most recently as a senior analyst at the Department of Homeland Security. He is the founder and director of DT Analytics. That's a private consulting firm for law enforcement agencies. He is also the author of Hate Land, a long, hard look at America's extremist heart. He also authored Right-Wing Resurgence, How a Domestic Terrorism Threat is Being Ignored. He's also a freelance writer for various civil rights organizations, and he has testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee on the threat of extremism and hate crimes. Very happy to have Mr. Johnson here today. Thank you for joining us, sir. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing well, despite the circumstances.
Indeed, indeed. So, Mr. Johnson, let me start by asking you to tell us a bit more about yourself and how you became interested in this subject and this threat that is haunting our nation.
Yeah, so you pretty much gave a background on my federal career looking at domestic terrorism. I actually worked for the U.S. Army as a counterterrorism analyst back in the mid-90s, right after the Oklahoma City bombing. I also worked for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, which is a federal law enforcement agency that investigates the criminal activities of people that violate our firearms and explosives laws, as well as use arson as a violent tactic. How I got interested in this subject, that goes way back to my childhood when I entered a local department store and saw the letters KKK inscribed on a bathroom stall. And I went home and asked my parents about that and was shocked to learn that there were these white supremacist secret organizations that were founded after the Civil War that had conducted violence against the freed slaves and others. My interest grew as a teenager when I watched a national event unfold on TV, which involved a standoff between the ATF and FBI and this white supremacist insular community called Covenant Sword Arm of the Lord, which provided safe haven to domestic terrorists and was plotting to poison water supplies, blow up a gay church in Kansas City, and things like this. And so from this early childhood interest, I went to college and continued to study and learn about these groups and ultimately turned that into a career.
Well, Mr. Johnson,